Forget Wi-Fi, ancient Africans had the original social network, built right into their hair. So in many ancient African societies, hair was much more than fashion. It was communication. Hairstyles signaled everything from tribe and social status to marital availability and even religion. In places like the Yoruba and Himba communities, hair told your life story without even saying a word. Like and follow, and remember, stay curious.
Hi lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to Building the Verse. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
The origin of this started here. And when they took over, it became cute and beautiful. But when the actual descendants did it with extraordinary style and elegance, it was ill, gross, and ghetto. But we all know you stun our shit, so don't embrace it only when it's convenient for you.
So Fulani braids is what we often call this in the US, and it absolutely is derived of the Fulani people from what is now Nigeria. And I've often thought that the hairstyles draw on the textile patterns and vice versa. Because if you look at textiles, particularly this one, there's a real pattern and geometry and care for evenness. That's also true for the braid. I would also point out that in the US, there's a lot of literature about how African Americans draw from many cultures and then create their own culture. So while definitely the culture of braiding from the Fulani people is part of the culture of African American braid, there's a lot of scholarship that talks about there is something palpably African American about African American braid.
I came across this creator with this hairstyle and it reminded me of this image I had in my archives. I love traditional old African hairstyles, so let me show you some of my favorites. Obviously I have to start off with my country people. These are fancy people, and look at their hairstyle. How do they slick it like that? Don't know who tells. This one is what you call combination. This is Kenya. They have the cornrows and then the threading at the back. The DRC got the scarf combination with the chunky braids. I'd do that today. Another one from my country, and I used to do this hairstyle a lot when I was younger. It's in my blood. The eyebrows are questionable, but I love the hair. It's like a spin on pin-up, but with the braids. One thing about Eritreans and Ethiopians, when it comes to those small braids, they're always going to do it right. Liberia, there's a lot going on, but I really like this. This one's given TWA, and look at the Afro pick. There's another one from Ghana, 1896, and look at the Afro pick as well. This is Ghana as well. I just don't have a date, but I would do this hairstyle today. The updos, look at this. Nigeria, another angle. I would do this. Another one from Nigeria with another one. These were all taken by the same photographer, and I'll do another video on him, but this has to be my favorite. I'm telling you, when I go to Ghana, I'm getting this hairstyle done. Gorgeous. This one reminds me of the braided baddie style. Last but not least, this one, because this is giving punk rock. I can't fit all of them in this video because I've got too many in my archives, but I'll do another one.
Hairstyle. They're a language of heritage and identity. Dating back over 5,000 years, braids originated in Africa, with intricate styles symbolizing tribe, status, and age. In ancient times, braids were a way to communicate. Patterns like cornrows indicated where someone was from, their marital status, or even their social rank. During the transatlantic slave trade, braids became a form of resistance. Enslaved Africans used them to map escape routes and hide grains for survival. Despite centuries of oppression, braids remain a symbol of resilience and cultural pride. Today, African braids are a global phenomenon, celebrating beauty and craftsmanship while honoring ancestral traditions. Every twist tells a story, a legacy woven into strands of strength and style. Braids are...
If you've spent any amount of time learning about haplogroups, genealogy, and our lineages, there is the topic of hair that always comes up. African hair has had people classified in different levels, and it starts from the peppercorn to the kinky, all the way to the tight curls, and then we are grouped according to the hairstyle. And I never understood how that makes any sense. So, attributing this peppercorn hair only to the queer people and Twa people, it makes it seem like some of us don't have it, or the rest of us don't have it, or Bantus don't have it, or other African ethnic groups don't have it. But the reality for most of us is that our hair does start here. And the only difference between that hair and this one is that this one is, constantly brushed and combed out and, manipulated even at this height. This is just unmanipulated hair. When you manipulate it, it becomes this. The more you manipulate our type of hair, it becomes softer and it kind of changes the curl pattern. Again, that's manipulation, whether you are keeping it in a protective style, whether you are putting shea butter and twisting it and putting it into Bantu knots, it's manipulation, and so it removes it from the peppercorn state. And so what people have done is they've categorized people's hair by saying that, let's say, see how my texture has changed now, it's a little softer. When it was short, it was very hard. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. When it's short and it's got, the little curls on it, little kinks, it's very hard. When you manipulate it, you braid it, it becomes soft. Which is why it's important to not say that there are Africans with this hair or there's Africans with that hair. It is all about whether it is being manipulated, brushed, or not. This is my son's hair over a decade ago. He's going to be 17 now, but he was probably like 6 over here. But that's his hair on a day that was probably lightly brushed, or just a comb ran through, and then he was swimming, and it just goes back into the kinks of. But as soon as you brush it, it becomes a different type of, hair. Really, it looks like it, but it's still the same hair. Again, the so-called peppercorn hair, as you can see it here, not only is it, it's bigger than peppercorn, you can see that as it gets thicker and it gets bigger and it gets combed, it becomes what you call kinky hair. So there should be no characterization on I have this hair or I have that hair, because it doesn't mean anything.
In his 2008 study, Jeffrey Tazzi states, hairstyles were used as a means of displaying status. An institutionalized canon for hairstyles was established. These codified hairstyles continued to serve as the norms for identifying members of the administration or signs of authority. However, the nature of the hair texture required for creating these styles is seemingly disregarded, with Egyptologists overemphasizing the utilization of wigs, even where there is little or no supporting evidence. They also fail to acknowledge the extant use of these styles in modern Africa, where the same styles remain in use. It should be noted that the practice of ethnotrichology is a uniquely African one. Ethnotrichology describes an expression of cultural status and values through the use of socially recognized hair grooming. Tassi states, hairstyles as a representation of self were an integral part of the generation, maintenance and structuring of Egyptian society, reflecting changes in Egyptian identity and the development of social organization. He highlights 6 major styles used consistently for ethnotrichological distinction from the pre-dynastic to the Middle Kingdom. These styles are shaved, which is basically bald, cropped, which Africans identify as a shape-up, short, round and curly, which is essentially an afro, the tiled style, which is short twists or butter curls, and the bob, which is slightly longer twists. The shoulder-length bob, also a variation of twists, presents a slightly longer variation. And finally, the tripartite style, which is full-length twists or sister locks of thin to medium girth. All of these styles are universal to most African societies. Other styles acknowledged are the globular
In this video, I am going to bust the myth around Bantu hair and that it doesn't grow. Somebody started this rumor and it has been perpetuated in a lot of communities. So much so that us Bantu, we know that we have a history where we are called names. And one of those names is Jaria. And Jaria is supposedly supposed to be people who have this type of hair, right? Us three over here, right? We face a lot of discrimination. This is for braids. So I'm just, you guys know that underneath here, I have my real hair and I'll show you later. Okay, so let's do a little bit of digging to find out what's going on and how we can get some clarity in here. Okay, so some years ago, I'm not sure, mid-90s, maybe early 2000s, I'm not sure. This gentleman right here created this hair chart. And in this hair chart, he said from the straightest hair, the different types of hairs, from the straightest to 4C, and this encompasses everybody in the world, right? So as you can imagine, 1A are people who have straight hair, right? That's Asians and I think white people have curly hair, so like 2A, I don't know. But anyway, in this chart, me, particularly me, as Bantu, Kwe, Twa, people, we are right here at 4C. And he said that this was our hair type, right? Everything about this chart is so wrong as it pertains to us. One thing that you need to notice, okay, I'm sorry, I'm covering Oprah. He was endorsed by Oprah, right? But this man, look at him and look at his hair texture. And he came up with a type. When he came to 4C, he did not know what he was talking about. But he was also coming from a background of stereotypes. He didn't do the research. And how much do you want to bet that this man not once spoke to a Kwe, Twa, Bantu person? He did not. He just assumed. So when you get to this for texture, 4C, there's these rumors that, oh, it doesn't grow, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. But anyway, 4C, this man who knows nothing about our hair, did not ask us about our hair, does not have the experience of having our hair, went ahead and created this chart, okay? Let's get that out of the way. According to that man's chart, right, that's 4C. Also called peppercorn. I don't know where they came up with that. This is also 4C hair. These two hairs are exactly the same. What's happening here is that this gentleman does not have the same societal Western pressure that I have, right? I know because I live around you guys that you guys will make fun of me. So I brush my hair, even when it is that short. If I was not to brush my hair, that's how my hair would look, untouched, unmanipulated, right? It's the same hair. This hair is not different from this hair. Number two, that is a hairstyle. Those are waves. That's not how black people are born. They don't come out and they have waves. That's hair manipulation. Do you know what that means? That means that this gentleman too could achieve this if he cared to, right? He just doesn't. He's comfortable with his hair like this. But this hair does the exact same thing as that when manipulated in this method. And for clarity's sake, I also can accomplish that. It's just that I'm not into waves, right? Okay. So from the previous picture, my hair is super short, right? This is how it looks as it's growing. Again, that's where my hair starts. This is how it looks when it's growing. I don't know how long that. This is roughly where my hair is right now. Again, the reason my hair is that is because of manipulation, using oils, twisting it, pre-poo, conditioning, constantly keeping it braided and not leaving it in its natural form, right? I don't do that because after a while it gets so irritating to comb it. And so if it stays manipulated and I keep having braids in it, It just comes out looking like that, and that is soft. And you guys keep saying, oh, his hair is so hard, that's why it's not growing. That's a lie. That's how this hair looks when you when you manipulate it. It's the same hair. Stop saying that. By now, if you have experience with our hair, you know that even when we walk around with hair that is so short, our hair, because it shrinks and it coils, because in its natural form it likes to coil, it is actually longer than it looks. It's just that it needs all this time and manipulation.
The origin of this started here. In Africa, braids, cornrows, twists and integrate hairstyles are not just beauty statements. They are languages, they are codes, they are identity markers, they are maps of heritage. But the problem is, when this culture was lived and embodied by Africans, when it was worn in extraordinary styles and elegancy, it was called ugly, ill, gross and ghetto. Yet the moment others took it, renamed it, rebranded it, suddenly it became cute, stylish and beautiful. The contradiction is where the frustration lies, and is not new. We all know you stunt our shades, you always have. The issue is when you embrace it only when it's convenient, stripping away the history, the contents, and the people who carried it through centuries of survival. I came across a creator recently with this hairstyle, and instantly it reminded me of images I had in my archive. I love traditional old African hairstyles, and whenever I go through those photos, I am reminded of the genius, the craftsmanship, and the unapologetic beauty of our people. Let me walk you through some of them. Obviously, I have started with my country people, the fatty people. Look at the hairstyles. How do they look like that? Who tells them? Who instructs this level of ancestry? It's like the hair itself is sculpted into royalty. Every braid is intentional, every curve is symbolic. Then there is Kenya, the cornrows stretch back in neat procedures, then spreading into a pattern that almost resembles woven fabric. It's not just hair, it's geometric, mathematics, and culture interwoven. You can see the pride in how it's carried. The DRLs, they have got this scarf combination paired with choky braids, and let me tell you, I would wear that today. It's timeless, it's chic, it's heritage mixed with adaptability. That is the thing about African hair. It never stops evolving. It's rooted in tradition, but it reinvents itself every generation. Back to my country again. There is one hairstyle I used to do a lot when I was younger. It's in my blood. A style passed down from aunties, cousins, grandmothers. A style that feels like home. The eyebrows in the image, I will admit, are questionable, but the hair, beautiful. It's like a spin on the classic spin up, except braided, remixed unapologetically Africa. Entry and Ethiopia, one thing about them is when it comes to those small braids, they will always do it right. The procedures, the detail, the patience it takes is like they are threading history straight by straight. Every braid is almost like scripture written in hair. Librarian, now that one is a lot. A lot going on, yes, but it's still powerful. It's giving volume, it's giving boldness, it's giving I will take up space and you will see me. And stuck in there is a TWA teeny tweeny afro paired with the afro peak, an unmistakable cultural symbol. Ghana 1896, an old photo, but look at the detail, look at the afro peak again. Not just a tool, but a symbol of black identity. And here is another from Ghana, undated, but I swear I would wear that hairstyle today. It's timeless, is the undos, the elegance is like crowns sculpted from natural hair. Nigeria, my people, the angels, the undos, the braids folded and tied in ways that feel both royal and futuristic. And when you see multiple photos taken by the same photographer, you begin to realize this wasn't just hair. This was sculpture, portraitures. This was art meant to outlive the moment. One of my favorites has to be this Nigerian style, sleek, tall, unapologetic. When I travel to Ghana, I'm getting that hair done. It's gorgeous. It's the kind of style that makes you feel taller, prouder, and stronger. Then there is one that reminds me of today's braiding style. proof that nothing is truly new. What we call trending now has roots stretched back centuries. Africans already did it, perfected it, and documented it. And finally, this one pork rock. Yes, pork rock before pork rock. Africans had styles that spike, flamed, and defied convention long before the West claimed rebellion in hair. We have always been ahead, but hairstyles are not just aesthetic, they are languages of heritage and identity. Dating back over 5,000 years, braids originated in Africa with intricate styles symbolizing tribe, status, spirituality, and age. In ancient times, braids were literally communication. Cornrows could indicate where someone was from, whether they were married or even their social rank. During the transatlantic slave trade, braids became a form of resilience. Enslaved Africans braided escape routines into their hair. They hide grains, seeds, and food within braids to survive. Imagine that, hair as both map and survival kit, a tool of defenses against a system that sought to erase them. Despite centuries of oppression, braids remain a symbol of resilience, even when mocked as dirty, as unprofessional, as ghetto. They endured because every twist, every plait, with every cornrows was a quiet declaration. We are still here. Fast forward to today, and African braids are a global phenomenon, worn on runways, red carpets, magazine covers, but too often stripped of their roots. The same styles once ridiculed are now praised when detached from the African people who created them. That is the double standard. That is the appropriation. Because when a little black girl wears braids to school, she risks being told is distracting, unkempt, or unprofessional. Yet, when a celebrity outside the culture wears the same braid, suddenly is edgy, fashion forward, and bold. That is hypocrisy exhausting. So when we say the origin of this started here, we mean it literally African birthed these styles, African innovated these looks, African carried them through history, and yet the descendants are told it's ugly until someone else profits from it. But here's the truth. Braids are not a trend, they are testimonies, they are resilience woven into strays, they are memory encoded in style, they are art forms that survive the ships, the plantations, the produce, the corporate office, the classrooms. Every braid tells a story of where we come from, what we endure, and how we continue to rise. So when you see Africans and the diaspora rocking these styles with confidence, understand you are looking at 5,000 years of history alive on a scape. You are looking at a crown, you are looking at resistance, survival, and glory all at once. And that is why we protect it. That's why we call it out when others claim it without honoring the it roots. That is why when you see 40 people or Kenyans or Eritreans or Nigerians in this archive, you understand this is more than a style. This is legacy. Braids are not just hair, they are African speaking, they are ancestors whispering, they are survival woven into beauty, they are proof that despite everything, despite slavery, colonization, mockery, and thefts, we are still here and we are still styling. So the next time someone calls our braids ghetto, remember this, it was never ghetto, it was genius, it was never ugly, it was art, and it will never die because African doesn't die. Africa multiplies, Africa reinvents, Africa braids its stories into every new generation. Braids are legacy woven into strands of length, style, and survivals.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. Alright, lovely. See you when I upload the next video.